Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dion, and this here is chapstick, vanilla mint flavored and scented. I picked it at random. Today we're actually doing a get ready with me. I just had a thought like that I brush my hair. And I did, but I need to cut it, and I can tell because I question a lot if I brushed it, and I did brush it. And you guys are like, girl, your hair is fine. First of all, you don't really have no hair. Anyway, so this is a get ready with me. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to show you how I use both the elephant and the tiger palette from last year's holiday collection from Hourglass. And I am actually going somewhere, so this is a get ready with me for real. I know usually it's not, but it is. I call this the crazy troll nation of YouTube, just enjoying your channel, knowing it's okay to be your authentic self when you do your videos, trying not to emulate anyone else, just doing your own thing, and enjoying the channels that you watch. The troll part of the crazy troll nation is not caring too much about the beauty community standards. Like, you set the standard for yourself. Try not to feel like you need to use a certain brand or a certain tool or a certain technique. Use whatever you want to, however you want to, because your makeup needs to be the way you want it to be. What you think about yourself and your makeup is more important than what other people say about you and your makeup. Here at the Crazy Troll Nation, the bottom line is self-acceptance and self-love. Embracing your natural features, enhancing them if you want to, when you want to, but never feeling like you have to. Love yourself for who you are and for how you look, even without face paint on. That's what we stand for here at the Crazy Troll Nation. I do curse on my channel sometimes because I curse sometimes, period. So just being who I am, and I'm glad that you all are here with me for the ride. And I know sometimes it's kind of rocky, sometimes it's kind of like, I don't know about this troll over here, but I appreciate you for being here. And it took me a long time to be comfortable with who I am and to love myself for who I am and not care so much about what other people think. I mean, you care to a certain extent, but not to the point of, you know, wondering if you need to conform to someone else's expectations of who you are. I'm not saying don't strive to be a better person, but strive to be a better person for yourself, because you know there's something about you that you can improve on versus striving to be different because somebody else doesn't like a certain thing about you. You know what I mean? Because either the person is for you or they're not, and you're for them or you're not. If you're with someone or you know someone and you're always thinking, oh, I wish they would do this or be this way, be that way, maybe that's not the right person to be in your life. That's all I'm saying. And I'm going to just leave that there. So try not to feel like you need to be a certain way for a certain person to approve of you. Approve of yourself. That was a great curse. Did I tell y'all curse sometimes? Yeah, I did. So anyway, that's what this channel is about. It's just doing what you want to do, rocking what you want to rock as far as makeup. And I'm not a traditional YouTuber in the sense of how I do my makeup, and I appreciate that a lot of y'all appreciate that too. I know I do my makeup different. I know I don't go for the light ethereal, I guess approachable looks is the word I'll use. I don't want to say wearable. I understand the concept, but for me, if you wear it, it's wearable. But I do understand what they're saying. I'm a literal person, and so that's why I say certain things the way I do. Even about, you know, if you wear it, it's wearable. And so even though I understand what they mean, I more so prefer to go off of what somebody says, because I can misinterpret what they mean. Understand what I'm saying? Yeah, so I'm that person. Say what you mean and mean what you say. And I do have a clinical background if you're new here. And that was one of the main things, is just say what you feel. And if you're not good at expressing yourself, okay, let's work on that. Like, why are you not comfortable expressing yourself? And there is a fear of how people will accept you or not based on the things that you say. And it goes back to childhood. Don't say this, don't be this way, don't do that. But we're grown now, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So it is a learning process to unlearn childhood things. It is. And there's no shame in going to therapy. One of the things they would always say was every therapist has a good therapist. And it is true. In every conference and workshop I've went to, there was a class or a presentation on self-care and just accepting yourself and just knowing it's okay to be yourself. So anyway, so yes, across the board, it's not just, you know, for those people. Therapy's for everybody. Now we're going to take the Hourglass powder, since we're using Hourglass. This is the Veil Translucent Setting Powder, and we're going to use this to set the face. And the Fenty primer foundation for me does dry down. I did use 3 full pumps of each. When I use 2 pumps, it dries down quicker. But because we got to go, we're going to just help it along here. I really do like this Hourglass powder. And I used to use Laura Mercier, and some people still swear by it. And I swore by it too. And I'm going back probably like, I don't know, it's been, I don't know, I want to say at least over 5 years. And I want to say longer than that. But I used to swear by the Laura Mercier, and because of whatever reason, which I don't remember because that was so long ago, I tried the Hourglass. Laura, she can kick rocks. I was like, nah, man. For me, the Hourglass powders are just so smooth, and they don't leave, you know, a cast. They never look cakey. I fell in love, and I messed around and tried I think it was the Elephant palette. I don't know which one I got first. And I kept saying I wasn't going to get any of the Hourglass face palettes because they're not inclusive, and they're still really not. But I messed around and tried it, loved it, bought another one, loved it. And this was all within maybe like a 3-month period. And then I had the nerve to buy 2 of the singles for finishing powders, one of which was in one of the face palettes because I just loved it that much. And first world problems, I wanted a bigger compact so I can use it for a bigger brush since I was using it to set my entire face. But yes, I messed around, tried it, and was like, oh my gosh. But it reminded me of how much I used to love the translucent setting powder back in the day. It doesn't change what my foundation looks like. If I have on concealer, it doesn't change what the concealer looks like. It doesn't over mattify under my eyes, which tends to accentuate my under eye discoloration. And if you rewind back 20-30 seconds, you'll see that because of the foundation, my under eye discoloration was not shining through or poking through as it is now, because this powder does mattify, but it doesn't suck the life out of my face. So that is that. So now we're going to go into the Elephant palette and the Tiger palette. I do tend to use these in conjunction with each other because these offer me a lot. You see my complexion, you see my undertone. I am in the middle of the spectrum, and what I did was I put a label on like what shadows, what colors suit me best. And between these 2 palettes, this is Elephant here, this is Tiger. Between these 2 palettes, I have 4 blushes, 3 highlighters, 1 blush light, a contour, a bronzer, an under eye setting powder, and a finishing powder. And either one on its own works for me, but together they work better. In the Elephant, I use this for an under eye powder. This shade here, and this shade is a highlight for me. These 2 are blushes for me. This is a contour for me. And this one here is a finishing powder, meaning you put this on after you do everything else to your face. And so I do use this and have used this, excuse me, just for all over my face. From this palette, this one here is a bronzer for me. This is a highlight. This is a highlight, and this is a blush light. These 2 are blushes. And blush light, when I say that, I mean I put my blush on, and the blush light I'll put just at the top edge of the blush, but not as high up as my highlighter. And so I have used this on its own too. And if I can get it to where you can see both of those shades, this is Elephant. I use this as a contour because you see that it's more cool tone. This is Tiger. I use this as a bronzer. So when I use these together, as you'll see today, I'll set under eye. I'll pick which blush I want to use and which highlighter, and then I'll use this as a contour and this as a bronzer, and then I'll go back and use this shade as an all-over finishing powder. So my choices are you know, which one of the 4 blushes I want to use as a blush, and which 3 of the highlighters do I want to use as a highlighter. My tendency when I use this blush, I tend to use this as a blush light because they just seem to just go really well for me for some reason. I love this as a blush because it's a coral-ish type color, so we'll see. Yes, I do want to get the snake palette. And I'm hoping there's enough variation in there for me. So as far as between the blushes and highlighters in these palettes. The only VP shade in Snake is Radiant Light, which I do have a single for that, and I use that for under eye and for finishing my entire face. It is one of their permanent finishing powders because I love it so much, I don't mind having it again. Even though I do prefer the single compact because it is larger, and so I can just put a large fluffy brush in it, especially since I'm doing my whole face. It helps me get it done quicker. So let's just get into this. So we're going to take, I should have wrote the names of it down. From Elephant Palette, we're going to take shade number 2. I'm going to just do it that way. This one, and I believe this is Soft Light. That is Soft Light. So we're going to take this and we're going to put this under eye. Sometimes I like it and sometimes it don't. I don't know if it depends on what my under eye is doing already on its own. But I do really like this though. This is Dim Light that I use for finishing powder. When I put that under my eye, it just accentuated my under eye discoloration. And when you look at the 2 tones, like this is like an off kind of tone for me, whereas this looks like it's a little bit golden, even though my under eye isn't golden. My overall complexion is on my face, but not my under eye, because the discoloration gives it its own undertone. But this works for me. This is Soft Light. And so I don't mind a little bit of my under eye discoloration poking through because I have under eye discoloration, and so I'm not trying to erase my features. And so it's back to embracing your natural features. Enhance them if you want to, but I want to de-hance if that's a word, my under eye discoloration, but it still looks like me. And so we're going to put that brush away, and so I need to choose, well, we're going to do bronzer and we're going to do contour first. And so we're going to stay in the Elephant Palette, and we're going to take shade number 4, which is, and it says it's a bronzer, but for me it's not. It depends on your complexion and skin tone. And one thing that I think a lot of us of medium, deep, and dark complexions and skin tones have done is we just figure out however these work best for us. And so this says it's a bronzer, but for me I use it as contour, and it says Lustrous Bronze Light, and so that's this one down here. So I'm going to take this brush, and I purchased more of these. This is the Fenty number 125 face brush because it fits right into the pan without touching anything else. And so we're going to pick up some of that, and so I'm kind of just wiggling it in, and we're going to put this, you see that the natural hollow of my cheek I was going to say before I covered it up, so you see that. And then I will just feather upward just a little bit. And typically with contours and bronzers, sometimes usually I use this brush for blush because it is a dense brush, and if you put too much, it's sometimes hard to come back from it. But the way the Hourglass powders blends out, and even if there's a harsh line, by the time you put the finishing powder on over your entire face, everything just blends together really nicely. So we're going back in, and we're going to come down here. I really like the finishing powders, and I never understood the purpose of it until I tried it, because the way it looks on my skin and on everybody's skin that I've seen try it, it just blends everything together seamlessly. You can think your face is seamless, and it can be, but it just enhances how things just seem to look on the entire face. And we are going to use one today. We're going to use Dim Light from in this palette today. So this is contour, and I use contour and bronzer interchangeably 99.9% of the time. Contour is to add a shadow to your skin, like putting a contour here, it kind of sets it back, whereas a bronzer is supposed to make you, well, not supposed to, but the idea is that it'll make you look like you've been kissed by the sun. So it adds warmth and it brings some radiance to your skin, whereas the contour kind of sets it back and creates a shadow, kind of like chisels out your face. But for me, bronzers sometimes do the same thing, and that's why I tend to use them interchangeably. And so we're going to put that brush down. Now we're going to take a clean one, and we're going to pick up the Tiger palette, and we're going to take shade number 1, this shade here. And this says this is a finishing powder. It's supposed to be for dark complexions. I don't know. I use this as a bronzer, and this is Transcendent Light. So we're going to take that, a clean one, and we're going to press in lightly, because these shadows are pigmented shadows. These powders are pigmented. So we're going to put it just kind of above where the contour is. Do you see this? You see what I mean? Like, they just... And then I'm going to blend it. Not a lot. Just a little bit, because we have a lot of other stuff that we're going to put on our face. A blush and a highlight, and then the finishing powder. But you see how this goes. And I wanted to do this for if you're on the fence about the Snake palette, which I don't have yet, so I can't compare, but I will compare once I do get it, if for some reason I don't change my mind about getting it, because that's a possibility too. And it's a lot of money to not be sure, you know what I'm saying? And if you have Elephant, if you have Tiger, and you're around my complexion, I'm hoping that this inspires you or encourages you to pull out Elephant and Tiger, because you may want one of the new ones. And so you see how that brought warmth back into my forehead, maybe, I don't know. So we're going to still just take some of this just here, just because I'm used to just putting bronzer here. Yeah, so if you're on the fence about it, where this may solidify for you that, you know, you have Tiger or Elephant and you're content with that. Because I might get Snake and be like, I ain't really need that. And I don't think makeup is a need anyway. So now we're going to figure out what blush to use. So from Elephant, these are the 2 blushes that are my options. And from Tiger, these are my 2 blush options. I'm thinking, and what I always think about is, because Elephant is for lighter complexions, that means the blushes and everything in here are lighter. Whereas Tiger is a little deeper, it's supposed to be for deep skin tones, but it's more for caramel color, which is my complexion, in my opinion. So it's like, do I want lighter blushes, more pinky, rosy blushes, or do I want like this shade here blush, or like this shade here, which shows it really nice? Maybe I'll use that one to show you, because even though it's marbled, it's like it doesn't show up marble. And so it's kind of tricky. And I remember saying I use this as a blush light. This you would think is just a blush, but for me it's a blush light. So I think I could do one on each side. That's what I'll do. Even though I'm going out, maybe the finishing powder will make it look the same. I don't know. So we're going to take this shade here as a blush. This is Tiger palette. So we're going to do Tiger on this side. And this is what it looks like. And so I'm just kind of like wiggling it in. And you can swipe sideways if you want to, but I tend to go straight in because it just really fits into the whole pan that way. And then I'll tap it like in a circle, like right here. Look at this shade, y'all. This is beautiful. That's this. And so it's a soft shade. And so I'm blending it into the blush, into the bronzer. And so and I'm going lightly. So I'm not like, because I do tend to be heavy-handed with blush. But that is what that looks like. So we're going to put that brush down. We're going to, we're going to take this brush. I kind of don't want to. And we're going to go into this shade, and we're going to use this as a blush light. And so we're going to press, turn, and press. Because of the shape, we want it on both sides. We are going to tap that one off, and we're going to put this where we normally put highlight. So you see that, and how these two just blend together. I should have swatched these out for you to see how they look like on my arm, even though I normally do swatches on my forehead because my hand is not the same shade as my face, except now it kind of looks like it is with the foundation on. But anyway, but look how that just goes. I really like this, y'all. I really do. Let me not get the brushes mixed up. So let me put those two away. And sometimes I still do just take a regular highlight. So we're going to take another brush, which isn't the proper brush for this for me. And we're going to take this one as a highlighter. This one right here. And we're going to swipe because this doesn't really fit in there. So I'm just swiping on the tip of the brush. And we're going to just put that right here. So out of Tiger palette, do you see that? Very subtle, but it's like, wow, that's pretty. So out of this palette, we've used everything except this shade. And I just realized I didn't mention what those shades were named. So we've used 5 of the 6 in here. The blush light shade, the blush shade we used, that's number 4. That says Divine Strobe Light. The one we use for blush light says Copper Flash Strobe Light. The one we use for highlighter is Burnished Glow. So we've used 5 of the 6 in here. So if you have Tiger, I just stuck my finger in it. Oh my gosh, which one was that? This right here, I just gouged it. So if you're around my complexion and you have Tiger, this is a way that you can get a lot of use out of it using this palette. So using 5 out of the 6 is not bad. And if you have these Hourglass face palettes, I'm trying to get it from under my nail because I really just like gouged it. So if these palettes cost too much to not use them, excuse me, and to get the most out of them. So now we're going to go back to Elephant palette. These are the 2 that I use for blushes. And this one, number 4, is Lustrous. We're on the wrong side. Number 5. Did I say the other one's wrong then? I maybe did. Number 5, Iridescent Coral. And this one is Radiant Rose. Do I want to go back to Tiger? Did I say the names wrong? I don't know. I'll put down below in the description bar what number and shade name these are. So I'll need to remember to do that. So we're going to, this is number 5, Iridescent Coral, Radiant Rose. I think we're going to do Radiant Rose just to see how close it is to this one. Which one did I say? Radiant Rose is number 6. So it's the one in the corner, this one down here. So we're going to tap this. And the thing with blushes is, a lot of times they do look similar, not just with Hourglass, but other brands too, because how many different shades of blush do you use? You know what I mean? It's going to be coral, red, pink. And I'm not saying that to justify anything. I'm just making an observation. And I think that's what was nice about Fenty when they came out with, you know, the purples and, you know, all those other shades, because it was something different. And, you know, Hourglass isn't that kind of different. And so this is what this side is looking like. And this is what this side is looking like. So it is softer. These shades, shadows are buildable. That's this one right here. So even blending that out, that is what it looks like. And they are buildable, but I'm not building it because I want them to kind of look the same. And I don't think people will notice if they're not, because they shouldn't be that close to my face anyway. And now we're going to take for, it's only one shade in here that I use as a highlighter, and that is this one right here. And this is called, I hear Charlotte in my head saying it's annoying how these don't stand up. So we're going to take this as a highlighter. This is number 3. This is Beaming Strobe Light. So we're going to take that and we're just going to pick that up on a brush and we're going to put that here. These, oh my gosh. I love the Hourglass powders. I hate that they're not inclusive. So it's like a love-hate relationship I have with these. So this is this side. So we have contour, bronzer, blush, blush light, highlight, contour, bronzer, blush, and highlight. So out of this one, we used 1, 2, 3, 4 things so far, because we also used an under eye powder. The 5th thing out of here we're going to use is we're going to use dim light as and all over finishing powder. And I did also purchase Dim Light in a single, so I can use a fluffy brush with it, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to use this one. So after we put Dim Light on, we will have used everything in Elephant except for this shade here. So just how we use 5 of the 6 from Tiger, we've used 5 of the 6 from Elephant. And so I do really hope that this encourages you, if you have either one of these, just to play around with it, find out what you like each one for, and just to really use it, because they cost too much not to use. And so this is Dim Light, this shade right here. This brush really doesn't fit in it, and so I have to keep going back and forth with the brush. And I am turning the brush as much as possible, but because I can only get it on the tip of the brush, which is why I ended up getting a single, because then I can use, you know, a big brush like this one and finish my face a lot quicker versus going back and forth, turning the brush, getting it on. But even how this did look harsh earlier, look how that just, now it doesn't look harsh. Like these finishing powders, what's the difference between a setting powder and a finishing powder? A setting powder, something like this, either loose or pressed, that you put on to set your foundation. A finishing powder is a powder you put on, could be pressed or loosed, but it's a powder you put on, excuse me for smacking, that finishes your entire face. So it's supposed to smooth out, blend everything in, just make everything look seamless. And I didn't know anything about finishing powders. I was just like, okay, it's a gimmick. But you know what? Something about these Hourglass powders, man, they just work. And even though we put on a lot of powders, we did a lot of things today, nothing looks cakey. You see my face, it just looks radiant. You see, I mean, everything just blends in. It's seamless and it's bomb. I'm not going to do a lip. You know, I'm going to do a lip. I'm just going to put on the Fenty Gloss Bomb in Hot Chocolate right over top of chapstick, because we are going to be going out. I may do a look later today, a comparison with something, but I'm not really sure. I have to see how I feel when I get home. But this is our look. Thank you for being here with me to get ready. Let me know if this helped you as far as dropping stuff. Let me know if this helped you as far as how you can use the Elephant palette and or the Tiger palette if you're around my complexion or skin tone. You see how everything worked. I'm not really digging my under eye. When I go like this, I do see the shadow. This is my darkest patch. And so what I'm going to do now is, but when I go like this, it's not that bad. And I don't think it's that bad anyway. But we're going to take Radiant Light just because we can. And I'm going to put that under my eye. Radiant Light is also a finishing powder. And I do like this one because it does have a sheen to it. And I think it's just the undertone of it where it does, to me, seems to brighten just enough. Because if something is too brightening, it accentuates my under eye discoloration. Like, to me, I think this looks better with Radiant Light. And so I don't mind having this in the Snake palette if I do still get the Snake palette. And I'll just use it like how I used the under eye powder in this one, and then the finishing powder, I'll just use a brush and just twirl, twirl, twirl. So let me know if this helped you to see how you can utilize both of these palettes, even using these in conjunction with each other. We use 5 out of the 6 here, we use 5 out of the 6 here. Keep in mind, we put Tiger palette, blush, blush light and highlighter over here, and Elephant blush and highlighter here. But even just using one or the two, or combining, if you're my complexion, the contour from here and the bronzer from here, setting your under eye, finishing your face, you still have 4 options for blushes, 3 options for highlighters, and then also a blush light. So let me know if that helped you figure out how you can get the most of your money from these. And also let me know if this helped you decide not to get any of the new ones, because you can do a lot with both of these 2 palettes on their own and get the most out of your money, y'all. If we're spending, I don't know if they were 80 or 85 last year, because I keep hearing both, but these are now $90. The new ones are $90. That's a lot of friggin' money not to use. And so whether you have these from last year or if you're getting the new ones this year, I encourage you to use your palettes, because that's a lot of money to spend. So Did I encourage you to use these in different ways, Elephant and Tiger from last year? Did I also deter you from purchasing the new ones? Because this is so much. And even for me, as I'm doing this, as I did this, I'm thinking, do I really need more options for blushes? Do I really need more options for highlighters? And, you know, I'm looking at House Labs. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 House Labs blushes. 1 highlighter and 1 bronzer. So it's like, do I really need that? No. And I go back to, makeup is not a need in my mind. You can live without makeup. It's a luxury to have, and it's a privilege to have. And so that's why I don't feel like I need to rush out and get every single thing. So anyway, I'm going to go. Let me know your thoughts on those questions. Let me know your thoughts on, I don't think it's much different. The placement is a little different. This I came further in. And that's another thing too, like, is it going to look similar? You know what I mean? I can see a difference, but that's only because I know that it's different, so it may just be me playing mind games on myself. But I do really like it, and I do like the subtle differences, but is it enough to justify getting another one? And so I'm going to have to think about that, because now even I'm kind of like, do I still want to get Snake? Low key I do, but I'm like, it would just be another face palette. But what I do like about these is I can use Elephant on its own, I can use Tiger on its own, I can use them in conjunction with each other. And so I do not feel like I wasted my money getting these, because I do use them, as you see. So I'm really going to go. Thank you for being here. Excuse me for smacking. As always, self-acceptance, self-love. That is the Crazy Troll Nation way. Thank you, and you will see me soon.